A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillah. So, we already talked about this just a little bit, but I want to talk about it again. And so some of you can even ask some of the same questions so that it's recorded or we talk about it. Just in dealing with Muslim names and choosing and finding a Muslim name, dealing with some names. And as I was telling you, I do things a little bit different than most people, because most people, when they give somebody a new Muslim name, they don't really take much into consideration. They might have an idea or feeling about that person if they've just met that person or look at them, and they give a person a name. And alhamdulillah, I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspires something in that person's heart that encourage them to give you or suggest a Muslim name to you, that particular Muslim name. First, everybody has to know that it's not mandatory to change your name. Okay? It's not something that because you accepted Islam and you become Muslim that you have to have an Arabic name, that you have to change your name. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he only changed people's names when they had a bad meaning. They had a bad meaning. Because they were Arabic and the language of the deen was already known it was going to be Arabic. And so the Arabs had names, and they traditionally gave people good names. But occasionally, because of the time of ignorance and before Islam, sometimes people would give people names that had negative meanings. They had bad meanings. They had downright unacceptable meanings. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if he met somebody that had such a thing, he would change that person's name. So it's not a mandatory requirement. And there are a lot of people who choose not to change their name. I tell you why I believe that it's good, especially living here in America or in any other Western or non-Muslim country. I think it's good. I've seen over the years, in my last 40 years or so, people who change their name and people who don't, of all different nationalities. One of the things we see is that it helps bring that person into realizing a change from who they used to be to who they're trying to be now. Even though their name might have a good meaning. Might be a good, like sometimes somebody's name is John. John in Arabic is Yahya, and is the name of one of the prophets. That's the translation of me. Yahya is John. That's the English translation. You know what I'm saying? Joseph is Yusuf. So sometimes some people who have those names, because they know what it means and it's the name of a prophet and it's just the same name in a different language, sometimes they don't change their name. They got everybody already know them as Joseph. You know what I mean? Or know them as John. So they don't necessarily change it. It has a good meaning. It's not anything. It's a good Islamic. So they don't change it. But like I said, when people make that change, when they take on a name, Islamic pronunciation, and using it in that way, it has a profound effect. It has a reminder and a conditioning that goes along with it that helps that person realize that they're making some changes in their life. They're changing from who they used to be to who they are. If everybody always been calling you John or been calling you Joseph, you know what I mean? And now your Muslim brothers and everybody also call you Joseph. There's like no difference. You know, wherever you go, you Joseph. You know? And although you can start changing some of the ways you were and your character and behavior and stuff like that, you may or may not. There's not any real serious indication. But when you start taking on the changing of an Arabic name, an Islamic name, from what you had before, and now some people are calling you Yusuf. You know? Maybe all your family, I still got family. Well, alhamdulillah, my aunt, I only have one aunt and one uncle who's still living. My mother and all the rest of my aunts and uncles, which my grandparents had seven kids. My mother was the baby. All of them are dead except for one aunt and one uncle, and a whole host of adult cousins. But my aunt, who is still living, who's 80-something years old, she calls me Samir because that's how she is. She loves everybody, she respects everybody, she do everything. So, and plus, I stay in contact with her all the time. You know what I mean? Some of my other relatives I don't hardly ever see. Like my uncle, I don't talk to him that much. I called him not too long ago, actually. Matter of fact, first time I called him a while. Actually, I think it was Thanksgiving. I called him. His name is Uncle Willie. When I grew up, I only knew him as Tookaboo. Yeah, I was 16 before I found out he had a real name. That was anyway. I called him up. How you doing, Uncle Willie? Who this? I said, Samir. Who? I've been Muslim for 40 years, you know what I'm saying? Who? Then he started recognizing my name. You mean? He called me by my other name. I ain't gonna tell you what it is. No, I ain't slipping. I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, why didn't you say that, boy? You know, something ain't never gonna change. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, but when you come around, because they don't hardly ever see me. So when they see me, it's, oh, hey, how you doing? I don't fight me. You know what I mean? I don't fight. You don't fight nobody. You can't. But, and there's a way to do that too. There's a way to introduce your new name to your old friends. Some people get really kind of, told you that ain't my name no more, boy. What you call, what? I told you that ain't my name, man. Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? That's not how you do it. You know? But it helps you make a change. It helps you know there's a difference that you're trying to be from what you was before to who you're trying to be now. That's why I think it's good. But like I said, it's not a requirement. It's not something you have to do. Not something like somebody say, no, you know, I ain't gonna call you whatever you're George. I ain't calling you that. No, you know, that's a personal preference. I recommend it. Which I hope Allah allows me and permits me eventually in the future. I started before, lost all that what little bit I had done, and start over again. Try to find the meanings of American names, what those names mean, what it means. A lot of people don't know that those names have meanings. So you can find a baby book, or y'all, this baby generation, you go online, you go ask Chef Google. What's the name, meaning of the name? George. And the websites will come up with all the baby names. There's your name. You see the meaning. You might want to go look in an Arabic name. That's what I had planned on doing. I had started there. I don't know how many I did. You know, I took names, took the most popular names. I had found a book that had 100 most popular names of each year. This year, that year, or each decade. And I started. And I took those 100 names and I started finding what that means. And I looked up the Arabic name that found close to that. One thing. Other thing I take into consideration, sometimes people pick a name that is difficult for non-Muslims to pronounce. Because the new Muslim is not thinking about it. Many Muslim brothers that come from other countries, they're not thinking about it. They think that name, they see you look like Abdul Mukhtar Kabir. Yes, okay, you should be Abdul Mukhtar Kabir. You don't know, you say, cool, okay, alhamdulillah. Then you go tell your mama, hey mommy, my name is Abdul Mukhtar Kabir. Your name is what, boy? That ain't what I named you. You know? So, or you go tell your friend, you say, yo, man, I ain't saying that. So most people don't take into consideration how easy or rational it is for other people to use. And somebody's got a new Islamic name and they find it difficult around their non-Muslim friends and families. Stop it, they ain't gonna use it. I know how that split personality thing. And I've seen it a lot. And it happens a lot of times with people who like change the world, they go and do that. When around the Muslims, I'm Abdullah. Around the non-Muslims, I'm George. You know? Around the Muslims, call me Abdullah. Around the non-Muslims, I'm George. I've seen a lot of people who live like that, and believe me, a lot of them, it affects the way they practice Islam too. You find them straddling the fence. They're not really in the deen, and a lot of issues and a lot of things. They wind up straddling the fence like that too. You know what I mean? I've seen it. So that's the other reason why I believe personally it's good for a person to make a choice and choose some names. The other thing I try to take into consideration is the sound. You know, a lot of times that's why you'll find that I mention when I know what your name is, you know, I'll find a name that starts with the same letter or has that same sound or close to it. So when you introduce it to people who know you before, see, y'all don't know what my name was before. Y'all don't know my name was George. That wasn't it. You know what I'm saying? So y'all not thinking George when I tell you Brother Samir. You're not trying to, change it and remember, oh, okay, don't call you George no more. I got to call you, That's one of the reasons why I don't tell people what my name used to be. Because it's irrelevant. You know what I mean? Then it'll start coming your way. Remember, oh, that's right. Okay, I know your name used to be that. You know what I mean? So I usually don't tell anybody. Not that it's like, well-guarded secret. It is, I got it undercover. Some people know. And sometimes people get real close. Now, tease. Sometimes I meet somebody that has that same name. You know what I mean? I tell you know what? Guess what? That was my name too. But that's your choice. If you want to tell somebody, that's your personal. There ain't nothing like that's what the dean say you got to do like that. So those are a couple of things that I take into consideration. So now we have new brothers that all had new names. That's why we had Nigel. We looked at Nigel from the right. We had Dorian. I gave him a list of some names that began with a D, and had a D sound, some other things. Excuse me. Wa alaikum salam. And so I gave him a list, but I also gave him a couple other choices because I told him some other reasons why some other names was close to me. Okay, and he made a different choice. So he now has the name Ibrahim Abdul Mateen. We have Nigel. I gave him a list of names. Most of those all began with an N and had that close sound. Well, he chose Nabil Abdul Badir. And we have now Jarrell. We had the name Jarrell, gave him a choice of names, and he's now chosen Junaid. What do you got? Abdul Noor. Junaid Abdul Noor. And we have Jawad, who was Devon. That now has Jawad, and he's Abdul Sabor. And we had Keith over here, who took the name Khalil, Abdul Kareem. And our brother, Rashad. Right? We already had the name Rashad when I met him. Alhamdulillah. You have a middle name, Rashad? You have an attribute? So we're going to give you an attribute. All right?
You said I got a name?
Yeah, middle name?
Yeah, I have one.
What?
Abdul Nasir.
Abdul Nasir. MashaAllah. Now, but Daoud, I ain't going to tell y'all I know what his name used to be too. That's easy. You know why?
Wow.
It's a secret.
No. You know why it's easy?
Wow.
Because, I'm glad you asked. Because Daoud is the Arabic translation for David. But
the translation.
That is the translation, but that wasn't your name. And it happens like that sometimes. But, alhamdulillah. But I forgot, but I did know. I don't know if we can talk about it. Yeah, but no, I don't remember that stuff.
In yesteryear.
I don't remember that stuff. You might. I had to think hard about what his name was. Because he Ibrahim to me now. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'll forget in a minute what your other name used to be.